There is a particular kind of silence that follows a bank notice. Not the silence of peace. Not the silence of rest. The silence of a woman standing alone in a kitchen, holding a single sheet of paper, reading the same sentence 4 times because she cannot make it mean something different. Margaret Ellison read that sentence on a Tuesday morning in March of 2011. The bank was taking the property. 47 acres of eastern Tennessee hill land her grandfather had cleared with a mule in 1948. Land that had grown corn and tobacco and 3 generations of people who knew how to be quiet and work. She folded the paper. Set it on the counter. Walked outside into the cold. Stood at the edge of the tree line for a long time. Then she picked up an axe, and started. Margaret was 38 years old. She had worked the land beside her father until he passed in 2007, then beside her husband until the marriage ended 2 years after that. She had no business degree. No investors. No YouTube channel with a following telling her she could do it. What she had was 47 acres of repossessed land she had managed to lease back from the bank for $400 a month, a temporary arrangement that the loan officer made clear was not a favor. She had a 1987 Ford tractor with a cracked manifold. She had a notebook. And she had spent the previous winter studying something almost nobody in her county had heard of. How agriculture changed when small growers stopped trying to compete with industrial farms and started growing what industrial farms couldn't: specialty crops, heirloom varieties, food with a story attached to it. She had read about hydroponic farming at home. She had priced out raised garden beds from 3 suppliers. She had called 2 restaurants in Knoxville. Neither called back. She called again. By April she had cleared and built 6 raised garden beds from reclaimed lumber. Total cost, $340. By May she had laid 24 feet of hydroponic tubing along the south-facing wall of the old equipment shed using parts she ordered from 3 separate suppliers to find the lowest price. Total system cost, $612. She planted heirloom tomatoes, specialty lettuce, 3 varieties of basil, and a cutting herb garden she had seen described in an agricultural extension pamphlet dated 1987, the same year as her tractor. Her neighbor Dale Hutchins leaned on his fence one afternoon and said, "Margaret, what exactly are you growing out here?" She said, "A business." He looked at the modest rows of green shoots in their wooden beds. He looked at the rusted tractor. He looked at the 38-year-old woman in rubber boots and a flannel shirt standing in the mud. He drove away without saying another word. Margaret went back to work. In late September of her first year, a severe weather system moved through eastern Tennessee. 3 days of hard rain followed by a sudden frost that the forecast had not predicted. Margaret lost 40% of her outdoor beds in one night. She stood in the garden at 6 a.m. in the dark, in the frost, looking at the blackened leaves of plants she had tended for 5 months. She did not cry. She wrote in her notebook. September 22nd. Frost loss. Beds 1, 3, 4, 6 total loss. Bed 2 partial. Hydroponic shed, 0 loss. Estimated revenue impact, $1,100. Recovery window, 6 weeks if replanted immediately. She drove to the farm supply store when it opened at 7 a.m. She was back in the ground by 10. What the frost destroyed in one night, she rebuilt in 6 weeks. What it taught her, that the hydroponic shed had survived completely untouched, changed the entire direction of her operation. She wrote one more line in the notebook that night. Move everything indoors. The wilderness doesn't negotiate. Learn its terms. By the end of her second full season, Margaret Ellison had gross revenue of $22,400. Operating costs, seeds, nutrients, fuel, equipment repair, packaging, market fees, came to $7,800. Net profit, $14,600. From 47 leased acres and $952 in startup equipment. She had paid 3 months ahead on her bank lease by October. The loan officer called in November to discuss the terms of the arrangement going forward. Margaret listened. Then she said, "I'd like to discuss purchasing the property back." There was a pause. "That would require a full application," he said. "I know," she said. "I've already filled it out." She mailed it the following morning. Margaret Ellison bought back her grandfather's land in February of 2014. The same 47 acres the bank had taken 3 years earlier. She paid $138,000, in full. By 2016 she was supplying 9 accounts across 2 counties, running 4 season extension greenhouses, and teaching a weekend farming workshop out of the old equipment shed that drew 40 people from across the state on its first Saturday. Dale Hutchins attended the 3rd session. He sat in the back. Took notes the whole time. After, he came up and said, "I've been thinking about those raised garden beds." Margaret looked at him for a moment. "Start with the south-facing wall," she said. "And plant something you'd be willing to tend in the dark." He wrote that down. She watched him walk to his truck. Then she turned and went back inside. There was a 4th session to prepare. The wilderness had not given her anything easily. But it had given her everything she asked for, every single time she was willing to ask in the right language. Which was not the language of banks, or foreclosure notices, or loan officers on the phone. It was the language of soil, and frost, and early mornings, and a notebook that never once told her no.